Hello and welcome once again on this Monday afternoon. Wasn't that a lovely intro video showing you all the crafty people that are here at Stamps by Me, the whole crafty family? It's really beautiful to see all the different people on there. It was a nice way to introduce the show. So thanks for joining me today. I can see lots of you logging on already. If anybody who doesn't know who I am, let me introduce myself first. My name's Simon Williamson and I'm here from Avago-Ink Designs, and I'm here to give you some weekly inspiration with the lovely Avago range. If you are on social media, just hit the like and subscribe, and then you'll be kept informed of any notifications or anything upcoming about the new Avago ranges. You can see already I put a message out there today, so Facebook's not playing along. So if you know somebody watches on Facebook, just drop them a line to come and watch us live on YouTube. But if not, we'll put the show on afterwards so you don't miss out on this week's inspiration. Just one of those things. It does sometimes want to play, and that's what we've got to put up with sometimes. So I can see loads of you logged on already, so let's say hello to a few of you. So we've got Leslie on, Julia, Irene, Hillary, Anita. Oh, it's a long list. Leslie, I don't know if I've said you. Julia said she only found me a couple of weeks ago, so welcome to you. Thanks for watching the shows, and I'm glad that you like the inspiration it gives as well, so I saw your commentary about that. People are about snow. I don't talk about snow, but if you talk about it, it happens. So, I went here last Monday because I got my TV show on Create and Craft to launch the fantastic embossing folders that we're going to be doing now in the Avago range. So hopefully some of you out there saw that and you saw the inspiration that we did. And I thought I'd continue that today with give you more inspiration with the actual Avago embossing folders. So the first card I'm going to make is this one, which is a really kind of grungy kind of background. It just shows you how we can piece paper strips together to get a total design that continues. So I thought this would be a fun one to start with, and an easy one as well that you can recreate at home. And it just also brings out our lovely character Crash in his glory, and he's just there stood proud in the corner. So let's get started with this one. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our embossing folder we're going to be using, which is the star one. So I'll put that there. I've cut some strips already, which I know they're going to work in size. So let's just tell you, these are 1-inch strips by around about 5-inch tall. And what you want to do is you want to find the textured size of the card and turn it so it's texture down. And then we need to make our design on these and which way we want them. So we can have them all going lighter to darker, or we might need to break it up a little bit. So I think I'm going to bring a darker one next to these lighter colours. And I think I'm going to go that way. So we've got a little bit of variation going across them. And then we're going to line them up to make like a solid block, really, piece of thing. So make sure that they're all level at the bottom. And I've got some low-tack masking tape. If you don't have the other, I'm just going to take this one. It's a little bit easier for me to actually hold while I'm sticking this down. If you haven't got any low-tack, just use normal masking tape, because if it rips any off the back, it really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to level them all up and put a bit of tape across them. And turn it around. The same again, just going to level all the edges up so they're all neatly together. Take that little bit off, we don't need that bit at the top. So we've also made like a panel then this way. You can see we've got all our colours all in order, there's no gaps, and that's going to give us a piece that we can emboss with. So Leslie said it's sunny so far where she lives. We all lucky, aren't you? If you're like me as well, I mean, embossing folders, and you struggle to figure out which is the top and bottom, I always put a little bit of tape on them so I know that this is going to give the actual emboss facing upwards. So if you do struggle, it's just a top tip, that one for you. So we're going to put that into our embossing folder, make sure it's within the detail panel. Close that up. I'm going to bring in my machine. Just going to push that through. And we'll get that lovely detail coming through then that way, won't we? Just going to lift that up just to make sure we've got that. Oh, look at that. So you can see we've got that lovely raised detail on there as well. And you can see that lovely dimension that's put into our textured paper. I find textured paper is good as well. So sometimes with pressure you get a little bit of a cracking and the texture hides it as well. So I just find that's a top tip for it. So let's take that out of there. Move that out of the way. So I want to give a little bit of depth of this now. So I'm going to use just a black ink pad. I've got the Stamps by Me Midnight Black. And then you can use this just to brush over. So you're going to do it lightly. And you can do it flat on the glass mat, or some people prefer to actually bring it to the ink pad, but let's do it flat on the glass mat. I'm just going to brush that lightly over those stars to just bring them out a little bit. And take that all the way around. So try to do as little pressure as possible. And you'll see. It just breaks them colours up, you see, to get kind of grungy background. You get that lovely kind of star quality as well with that texture of that kind of paper as well. So it's a really good way of just adding a bit more dimension. And you can keep going with that. And if you saw the demonstration I did on telly as well, embossing on that is really good as well, so to pick out those kind of grungy areas that you've highlighted. So that's our strips that we've made. So we need to take this tape off the back now. So like I said, if it's pushed in too much, don't matter, because we can just cut it. You'll not see the back of these anyway. So let's just pull that off. And just get this other bit off the other side. So Hilary says, does it not affect the plates or folders by not sandwiching them between the cutting plates? I haven't found so, Hilary, I'll be honest with you, but it is down to your cutting machine. I know if you've got a lot of pressure going through, it can kill the actual cutting folder, but I've purposely taken away all like the assistance sheets, so it's just the basic plates, and I've not had too much pressure that it curves, so it keeps my embossing folder really flat. You can see on there, there's no bowing to it whatsoever. So just play around with it. Like I say, it's straight as a die, that one. So just play around with your machine, really, is all I can really say with that one. So just taking this other piece of tape off. There we go, move it out of the way. And you can see we've got our lovely strips now that continue our design as we go around there. So I'm going to get these mounted onto a black ground, so we've got this all ready. So we'll start in, I'm just going to move them up there so it's a bit easy to see. So I've got the background already cut, and I know that I'm going to have a nice kind of edge going round there. I'm going to start from this side, and then if I need to chop this end off, we can do to make it all symmetrical. But let's get these glued down now. That's the pink one. We'll get that one down first to be the starting point. But Elise says, I'm sorry I'm late. No, don't be sorry, it's nice for you to join me. I do appreciate your company today. So I'm going to keep a bit of a black line between them. Let's get the yellow one on next. Just continuing along this piece of card. And then the blue one. Who bought the embossing folders then from Creating Craft? I know there was in a bundle, so if you do want them separately, we do have them on the Craft Network channel now. And as always, we've got the QR code in the bottom of the screen. So if you want to give that a scan and type in the scan to shop code, which is shop 13 this week, it will bring up all the products that we're using in today's demonstrations, and also link it to the rest of the Avago collection as well. So if you do want to buy the embossing folders separately, that's one way that you can locate them if you didn't want the whole three of them. So I'm just going to get this last one on. Just pop that onto this strip at the end. Not done too bad with that, actually. So we're just going to get the paper trimmer. I'm just going to take off this little bit here so it's more balanced out on the actual card. So we'll just pop that in there. We'll just try and get a slither off this. A little bit more. Oh, it's best to take it off a little bit at a time though, isn't it? You can't go back. That's what my mum used to say. So it just looks a little bit more balanced than that. So that's our fantastic background for our character to go on. So we've got that kind of grungy kind of style coming through, and we've got that texture of that card, and that's just going to make a lovely kind of background You could even just put like a number in there, couldn't you? Like someone's 30th birthday, maybe. Just a good way of using your strips of card up as well. So let's get our main character now into that. So we'll put that to one side. I'm just going to wipe this ink off here so I don't get that anywhere. And bring up our stamping platform. So let's go with one of the big stamps now from the Game On collection. So this is the female character cookie. So let's just hold that in place. And I also want that lovely big sentiment, eat, sleep, game, repeat. So let's get them on there. We'll stamp them both together. So picking those up first. Give them a good push down. And I'm going to rub this with the embossing bag, just so we don't get it sticking where we don't want it. Give that a really good rub. I'm going to use black ink on this one as well, so it's a really defined edge. I only want the actual words on the stamp, so I'm just going to ink those bits up. And then we want the main character from Cookie herself without the frame behind her. So let's just get a bit of ink on all of that, and we'll see if we need to go back in to give a little bit more detail. So I'm just going to go back in again. Let's get the words in, and then we'll just get a bit more detail on that main character. I think actually that little pink magnet's holding it off, so let me just move it up a little bit. That's perfect now, so we've got our character there. And I'm just going to give this a sprinkle now with some embossing powder. So if we just take this onto the top of the Eureka, it makes it a little bit easier. And I've got some of this lovely clear embossing powder that's got like a bit of a sparkle in it. Just thought it looked really well on this. So let's cover the words up on this bit and make sure the character's got a good covering on this. I'll bring in a piece of paper just to catch all that loose powder so we don't waste any. Just give that a little bit of a tap. And that's lovely. And I'm just going to pick that loose powder out of the way now so we don't waste that. And I don't spill it then, will I? So if there's going to be an accident, it's going to be me, I tell you. And I'll just bring up the heat gun, and then we'll get this lovely shine on our character now. So I'm going to start from the head and work down, so I'll just make sure it's getting hot enough first, and then we'll work onto our design. I love these shimmery powders though. These are the words now. It's a good way as well of keeping the crispness of the black ink. I'm going to make sure I've got around this above there. You can see how that looks just because it's like iridescent now with that embossing powder over the top of black ink. So it's really a nice way of getting a bit more detail but without using the colour. Let's give that a little bit of a turn. You'll see that sparkling there, look. It's like really highly mica, so you get a really good reflection and sparkle as it moves around. So we've got our sentiment now on our main character. And I'm just going to chop into these now a little bit. I borrowed these off Tony, she'll never know. So let's get rid of these symbols on the side, because I don't want to use these today. So I'm going to cut them this way first of all. I'm not going to be straight, I'm going to try and cut them a bit of a different angle so we can kind of get some shapes going on. That way actually. And then I'm going to just chop these so they've got a little bit of a unique shape, each one. So that's our repeat. And then we've got eat. Sleep. Let's go this way with this one. And then we've got the game one, haven't we? So let's just chop those. Move them to that side, we don't need the rubbish. And then we've got our main character. So while we're chopping out, let's get our main character chopped out as well. So I'm just going to go around her arm. I do cut with big scissors as well. I know there's been, I said something last time and everybody went on to a debate about small scissors are better and big scissors. It's what you feel better with though. I always find the big scissors easier because I can turn the card in towards it for cutting. See my QD delivering got the wrong one, wanted the about oh. There's nothing worse as a leather than getting the wrong delivery. Let's just take those little bits out, going around her hair. Found a little like cat ears that she's got on a headband. Just chop around this bit, round her arm. These are the easy bits first for me, and then I go back to do around the hair. So let's chop that little bit around there. And I've got this little bit to go into around her hand. And if you find it a bit hard to cut out as well, just chop it out. It's only you that knows what the original stamp looked like. So let's move those bits out of the way. And then with our sentiment that we've got, we're going to mount these onto black and then cut them out so they've got a little bit of a border so it kind of brings this card together. So let's use a tape pen just for a bit of speed for that for you. That's the repeat. So Roxley says, love the Game On collection, Simon. I only had mine a week. I've seen your lovely samples online. I've got to say, you've had a real good play with the Game On collection, haven't you? It's such a usable one though, isn't it? Whatever your style is, whether you want to go bright, grungy. I mean, I'm loving the black and white at the moment, I've got to say. So I've just put our sentiments onto a piece of black card. I'm now just going to just give them a bit of a border, following the shapes that we've already cut. So we'll just chop round sleep. It's good this as well if you're not very good with your hands, if you're a bit shaky, because then they're all unique shapes. They're going to pull together really well, aren't they? That's game. I mean, my idea with the Game On was originally for teenagers because we didn't have any kind of characters for teenagers in the range, but I think it's actually become a whole lot bigger than that. So I don't think gamers are just for teenagers. I think a lot of adults appreciate it. And there's nothing better than giving a card to somebody that shares the interest, is it, that they've got? And gaming is a big part of the market at the moment. People love it. So that's our sentiment there, that's our character. So let's get this card pulled together then now. So I've got my card blank there. So let's get this, get the tape pen round the right way. Let's get that on our card blank. Let's use a few foam pads now to get these mounted up. So I think I'm going to put my main character in the bottom corner of this one. Just use some of our lovely high foam pads so it gives it some real depth. Roxley says my partner is a gamer and he's definitely not a teenager. Let's have that down there. And then we've got eat, sleep, game and repeat. So let's have, I think we're going to have eat, sleep, I think I'm going to go for them there. And I'm going to put these down, some on some foam pads and some on some just flat. So let's have eat up there and repeat on foam pads, just to give it a bit more dimension. And then let's have sleep in game glued flat. That's sleep. And that's game. Just took that under her head. And there we go. That pulls together that character and that distressed background using them strips and that embossing folder. But I just thought it was a really quirky way of using it is showing you how to continue your pattern in the embossing folder. Because trying to cut them afterwards is really hard. Putting the strips in together, it gives you this effect, which I think is really good. So hopefully you enjoyed that first demonstration. We're now going to give you some lovely inspiration from the Game On collection, and I'll see you back here in a couple of minutes where we get your next demonstration. So I'll see you in a second. Welcome back. It's just some lovely demonstrations over the Game On cards, and it just shows you the versatility of it. I'm also going to post some more pictures tonight on the Avago page of some of the samples I made for the show. So if you get stuck, there's always a folder for each collection that we've ever done. You can click in there, you can see all the samples to give you a bit more inspiration. So if you do get stuck, go and have a look for the photo album on the page. Right then, so the next one we're going to use is the heart folder, which is one of the other key embossing folders that we've launched. And I thought this is a really good card to show you how the sandback method really gives you a bit more texture. So not only are they raised, but you're going to get that distressed look when we sand it back. And I do suggest everybody getting one of these like kind of like decorating sponges, because it really does add to this effect. I'm also going to show you how to use the embossing folder to extend the design. So let's get started with this one. So although we've got the embossing folder and it's a fixed kind of shape, this is a square one, we are lucky enough that we've got an hinge at the top. So you can see this hinge here. As long as your paper strip doesn't exceed that kind of gap, so this is roughly 3 1/4. So if we get a 3-inch strip, we can put our card into there, feed it through the gap and continue that as long as we need to on the design. So it just makes it a little bit more versatile for you. So let's start off by embossing our panel first of all, and I'll show you what I mean. So I brought some card. I brought a piece of this card in, which I've not embossed yet, so we're going to give it a go. It might crack a little bit, but it won't mind because I want to distress it anyway. But sometimes when they're a little bit laminated on top, they do crack a little bit. So we're going to pop this in first, so hopefully you can see that from above. And I'm going to just make sure that my piece of card lines up with this opening in the hinge at the back there. I'll just put that underneath, that might make it a bit easier. So just make sure that your card is going to line up with that area there. So pulling that back to there. And then we're going to close that up. Ooh, I'm just going to just twist that a little bottom so it's a little bit out of sync. And we're going to run that through. So let's run that through our embossing machine. I still think it should have music, this, you know. And we're going to open that up. I mean, look at that on its own. Just look at that kind of texture you're going to get on there. It's really 3-dimensional. And I love the fact there's like heart upon heart. So you can see that glittery cast, that's done really well. It's not cracked at all, so that's brilliant. So we're going to feed this through that gap now in our folder. And we're going to locate the design because it will continue. So let me just have a quick look over here. So I know where that goes. There. And you can feel it. It goes into the actual slots of these kind of hearts. So you know that you're lined up again. So I can close that. Leave part out that we don't need to do again. And let's run that through so we can extend that design. Get that out of the way. And look at that. So we've extended our lovely heart design to a bigger piece of paper than the actual folder. And it's just a really clever way of doing that. As long as you've got some kind of texture in your card, you'll be able to feel it and line it up. So I know it works with a spot folder, I know it works with the stars, but it works particularly well with this kind of heart design as well. Right, so let's get this onto our cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is mount that on a black background to give it a bit of an edge left and right, and that's going to make it pop a little bit more. So let's just get that glued. Because it's quite tough, I tend to glue this down before I distress it, but you do what's best for you, really. So let's get that mounted onto that piece of card to make it a little bit more rigid. Give that a good push down. And then what I've got now is, this is just from like your local decoration store. It's just one of those decorated sanding blocks. It's like a sponge, so it's got a bit of give, but it's not too coarse. And I found this has been brilliant for cardstock because you can mould it, you can twist it, you can put pressure onto it, but it's not going to rip your card completely. So all I'm going to do now is just take the top of these hearts off, just by giving little circular motions. Just turn that around. It's brilliant as well, you know, if you use some cardstock that cracks a little bit, this covers it up, you can continue making your card. Going to just give that a bit of a tap away. And look at that, just look how much detail that's giving you now. It's kind of like giving like a bit of a grungy kind of sandbite look. Works really well on the dotty folder as well, and it works on the star folder. So just a good technique, and this cost me about £1.50, so worth adding to your collection. Go and get one of these light sponges. Okay, so that's our main panel, and we've got that distressed heart now going through it. So let's bring up our card blank. So I want to put a sentiment on the actual card blank for this one, so it's a little bit different. So let's bring up our Eureka. Let's pop our magnet in the centre to hold that in position. Might use both magnets actually, so it really holds it secure. And I'm going to go with the congratulations stamp. So I want to put this on our card, and I want to make it run down this edge. So let's pop that there. Let's pick that up. I'll just grab my black ink. I do like a black crystalline cement, I've got to say. So let's ink that up. And we're just going to run that down this opening edge of the card. So Roxy is going to get one of them blocks. It's brilliant, isn't it? I've used proper sandpaper before, and I've ripped the card by putting the pressure on. I can't believe how much you can control this. Definitely worth trying with one, I'll tell you. So let's drop this congratulations back on. Pick that back up. And continue that sentiment going down that opening spine of the card. And then I'm going to do one more on this top bit, just to fill in this little bit that's missing. We'll link that little bit up as well. Let's see if I can get that last bit to print. There we go. Take our sentiment out of the way. So we've now got our card base for our design. So let's get that situated on there, and then that's going to help with this kind of light sentiment strip, congratulations, making it pop. Now my card's a little bit bigger than this piece of card, so I'm going to level it towards the bottom, and then I'm going to cut it all across the top in a second. So let's get that glued in place. Just move this out of the way. Just for a second. We'll tape pen this. And I'll have a bit of wet glue as well, just to make sure it bonds well. going to start from the base of the card where I want it. Let's go there. And then we'll just make sure that sticks all the way up the card, down that panel. I'm just going to bring up the paper trimmer. I just want to chop this top of this card so it's all nice and level. It's quite thick this, so might need to go a few times with the blade, but let's see. Oh, did it straight away, look at that. So you can see now, if I just stand it up for you, we've got a really good card blank. And even that on its own, with all that texture that we've got from them lovely embossing folders, you could just simply put a sentiment on the centre of that and it'd be done with. Or a love heart, just to bring out some more of the kind of embossing features. So that texture is really going to add to it. And that sanding block's just created a lot more depth, and it would take some of it away. But we're going to put a character onto ours just to give it another level. So let's pop that to one side to glue. I'm going to bring in some love heart dies that I got in my stash. So let me bring in my cutting plate. Let me just have to adjust my plates. I'm trying to remember which way it goes now. There we go. So I've got a piece of red card, and this has got a little bit of a texture to it, so it's not completely flat. It's got like a bit of a dimple to it. I'm going to cut 2 hearts out, one quite large, and then I've got a smaller one that's in the same shape. Let's pop them in there, and let's just run them through. See if it cuts. I always forget my plates when I start moving them around. There we go. So we've got our larger one, and now we've got our smaller one. So let's move them out of the way so we don't need them plates now. And then what I've done to save time is I've just cut out a white one on the stamping card, exactly the same shape. I'm going to use this for our character that we're going to be actually cutting out this time. So if I bring back up the stamping platform, put the heart into here, and then what I want to do, I'm going to use cookie again. The reason I chose cookie is that a head shape is virtually the same as the heart shape at the top, so I thought it lined up really well. So if we kind of bring that up there, put cookie where she's going to be situated, so you can see her head goes into that heart shape round there, and that's where we're going to actually do it for her. So let's put the magnet onto that other side. Don't worry about any of this printing because we're going to be cutting her out. So let's ink that up. Let's pop her down there. Go in one more time. There we go. Let's take her out. Move that out of the way. So a bit like before, we're going to chop into this. I just think it adds another level to it. So let's chop around this side of her. Just round her hair. And up to the love heart. Don't be chopping into her hair if it's not quite printed around the top. Just make sure you chop up to the top of the love heart shape. And then let's chop down this bit of her hair. And this little bit. So we've got that there. If for any reason when you printed it, you printed a little bit low, then just go in with a Sharpie, get these little white bits, and just fill them in with a Sharpie or a black pen. And then your design's going to work perfectly then. So if it's a little bit misaligned, that's a quick way to fix it. So we've then got our love art, and this character's now going to perfectly go over that side. Just take the back of this foam pad off. Ooh, it's a bit sticky, that one. So if we put that there, look at the bottom, pull that around, it's going to perfectly fit that love heart shape. like she's coming forward of it as well. So that's one part. And then I'm just going to mount these both onto black now to give them a bit of a border. So that's one. And this is our little heart. You could put a message on this, but I thought it looked quite nice plain today, if I'm honest. And I'm just going to cut around these freehand to give them a little bit of a border. If you're not good at freehand cutting, then obviously you could just use a black ink pad, couldn't you, to put a little bit of an edge to the red heart. Then you wouldn't need to mat it onto this layer. But I just thought this added a nice kind of background to it. And we'll do the same for this one. Just following that around, take your time, try and keep the distance the same, and then you're going to get a really good effect. Taking that around this other side. And then we've got our bits now so we can get our card together. So, just bringing that back in. And I'll bring in another foam pad. Let's get some more dimension under this big heart. And we could choose where we put this. We can have it in the centre of our panel, or we can have it actually hanging off. I'm going to put a little bit more this way, so it breaks up that panel. And now I've got another foam pad for this other heart that we've got. And I'll put that one down there. And there we go. It's our second card. So it just shows you how much texture you can actually create on your card, doesn't it? Just plenty aware with the embossing folders. So if you have got a piece of card that you really like out there, a colour, and it does sound like crack or you discolour it, just get a sanding block and then you can still salvage that project. But I'm loving this sanding back technique. I think it's really cool. And I also like the other technique we did earlier where we use the ink pad, to pick out the texture in the paper. And it also shows you the different layers of the ink pad as well. So hopefully that's giving you some really good inspiration with the new Avago-Ink embossing folders. And it gives you a starting point. I mean, I would have never thought you could actually emboss a piece of card bigger than the embossing folder until I thought about the hinge gap. So it's just another kind of quirky way of using it. But thanks for your company today. Hope you've enjoyed those two designs. And I'll see you again at the same time next week for some more inspiration with the Avago-Ink. So thanks very much. See you later. Bye-bye.